Patty and Selma Bouvier are weird twins. I mean, just look at these two. But I'm not specifically talking about their personalities. They're weird in how isolated they are from pretty much every other adult character on the show. They're weird in the fact that we've seen them in episodes for close to 30 years now, but we really don't know what the differences between them actually are. Rod and Todd? Lenny and Carl? You know the difference. But Patty and Selma? Well, we're not even sure sometimes who is who. So the question for today is... Wait a minute. I do know the difference between these two. They have completely different character arcs. Then what are we doing here? Oh no! Oh, you're still here. Weird. So in the season 14 classic, Excuse Me While I Missed the Sky, the main story is about Lisa trying to turn off all the lights in Springfield so she can see the stars. When it backfires and they turn the lights even brighter, we are treated to this joke. It was so dark, Selma and Moe didn't even know they were dating each other. But they end up not caring and continue making out. Funny joke. Thumbs up. So, why didn't Selma and Moe actually get together? No, seriously, why didn't they? This is just a one-off joke, but it's such an obvious and natural pairing when you really think about it. It's almost like they designed their arcs for them to get together, but still haven't pulled the trigger for whatever reason. Just one random joke in season 22. Why do the writers hate Selma and Moe so much, I wonder? Some of the most long-running arcs on The Simpsons have been romantic in nature. For example, Edna Krabappel to Principal Skinner to Ned Flanders. In this example, Krabappel and Flanders' storylines ended up dovetailing into each other. Skinner went back to his mother, but I would argue the key loneliness arc always belonged to Edna. We closed the book on all that stuff. So then we have Selma Bouvier and Moe Szyslak. Their storylines go way back to the earliest seasons. One could argue that Selma has one of the oldest continuous storylines in this series, maybe the oldest if Sideshow Bob doesn't count. She would get almost one episode per season devoted to her search for companionship. Moe's desperate loneliness started showing up a little later, but even he has several episodes devoted to his love life. Other characters, like Apu or Comic Book Guy, did eventually get married off, but never had a series of episodes devoted to this search. Selma and Moe are unique loose ends in this regard. So here's the pitch. Here's why Selma and Moe should get together. First, let's just say Selma has interesting taste in men. She either goes for the bad boy criminal type, like when she married Sideshow Bob or seemingly Fat Tony, or she'll marry Troy McClure, who is a bit dodgy with his romantic abnormality. And, as much as we try, let's not forget her marriage to Grandpa in season 18, who not only has an interesting past, but is easily one of the most caustic and grouchy people in town. Moe is basically all of these things. Criminal, questionable interests, total curmudgeon, and grouch. Check. Secondly, the baby factor. This is one of the most eerie coincidences about these two characters. Part of Selma's arc was about her wanting to have a baby, from all the way back in season 4. In season 16, she ends up adopting Ling from China, in the episode Goo Goo Gai Pan. In the final episode of season 14, the same season this joke appeared, Moe grows a deep attachment with Maggie, babysitting her and generally looking after her when Midge is away. It turns out Moe can take care of babies very well, has a surprising paternal streak. There are some men who would get sketched out by women who already have a kid, but I suspect Moe would get along with Ling very well. I think Selma would find this appealing in a man. Moe Baby Blues is one of my favorite mid-season episodes, and Moe being with Selma might bring out that different side of him on occasion. Third, we gotta talk about Midge. Moe has definitely dated a variety of types of women, but he's always had the hots for Midge. This has been its own little mini arc of its own. Whether he's trying to move into the house, or owning a bar with her and traveling abroad, Moe has always been into Midge. So it'd be incredibly ironic if Moe ended up getting together with her sister instead. Maybe Moe is like Mr. Burns and Grandpa, and just as a thing for these Bouvier ladies. This family sure does attract some odd personalities. This could create a fun little dynamic between Homer, Midge, Moe, and Selma. Moe used to try to steal away Midge, is now with her sister. Selma and Homer hate each other's guts, whereas Moe gets along with him pretty well. Most of the time. Honestly, Homer would probably hate this relationship so very, very much, which is just another point in its favor. Speaking of which, on a more symbolic note, Selma and Moe represent two of America's biggest vices, nicotine and alcohol. Nothing more to it, really. You just have beer and cigarettes dating each other. Why not? And finally, and I want to say this as tactfully as possible, but there's the ugly factor. The show has always been, let's say, less than charitable about how physically attractive Selma and Moe are. Especially with Moe, they do a lot of jokes poking fun at his looks. He's generally considered the ugliest guy in Springfield. They even did an entire episode about this topic, when Moe gets plastic surgery. With Selma, it's mostly about Homer, how the show tends to be written from his point of view. Homer considers his sister-in-laws repulsive, so Selma tends to be portrayed that way. Now, I'm not saying that supposedly unattractive people should only date unattractive people. That's terrible, obviously. Let's be clear here. But in this hypothetical situation, I think it gives Moe and Selma the underdog status as a couple, where the rest of Springfield overlook them or don't view them as good dating prospects. For them to be like, screw you, you wish your relationship was this good. I think the quote-unquote problem with them is that they're not a super traditional couple on paper. You don't easily picture them doing cute couple things. They don't initially seem like warm and fuzzy people. But I think that's why Selma and Moe would be good for the show, that they run so far in the opposite direction of all that stuff. When they are in relationships, we do see that there is a soft, caring side to both of their personalities. But there is still that edge to them, where you know that they could still dish it out if necessary. They would totally be that seemingly dysfunctional couple that's bickering half the time, making out in inappropriate places the other half. Think Kelly and Ryan from The Office, for example. But a more loving and less toxic version of that. Selma deserves better. Still not sure about Moe. I admit, I've always enjoyed these open-ended romance arcs on TV shows, in that they're almost like murder mysteries, where it's fun to guess where the writers are going to take these folks, where you pick up on character clues, feel like you know the various parties, and ultimately pick sides. Now, I don't understand these fanfics that people write about different series crossing over, like, oh my gosh, Sonic the Hedgehog should totally date the L-shaped Tetris block. Come on. But a single creative universe? A single narrative? Sure, I can get invested. Why is Archie constantly going after Veronica in the comics when Betty is obviously the best? Why is Tina constantly pining after Jimmy Jr. when it's clear by now that Jimmy Jr. sucks and Zeke is infinitely better? Also, what's the deal with Ike? That's a complicated topic in itself. Okay, so in all likelihood, MoMA or Selmoe will never be an official thing on the show. This is honestly just a thought exercise just for April Fool's Day. It's fun to look forward every once in a while and see what could happen. Maybe no one would actually like to see these two making out in the background of every scene. I get it. But, given the amount of time the show has devoted to these arcs, it does make you wonder where these characters are going. Will Selma and Moe ever find someone, or will they forever be single and ready to mingle? You can't just marry every character off, after all. Maybe neither decide to get married, and Selma continues finding happiness in being a mom, and Moe gets his cell phone. Their most recent dating episodes end on optimistic notes that they will eventually find someone, so maybe they are building towards something definitive. Maybe Selma will be a Disney princess now, and Moe will be her Prince Charming. I'd just like to see something happen with these storylines in the end. There's only so many Moe suicide jokes I really want to watch at this point. My theory is they've just been secretly doing it for over 10 years now, and we never knew it. Prove me wrong. Have a good and romantic April Fool's Day. Sorry about that mental image. Thanks for watching.